The Premier League title race took another dramatic turn this weekend. Arsenal dropping points on Saturday at 12:30. Man City shockingly losing to Bournemouth. And Liverpool, with a few problems of their own, swiftly turned around. And Nottingham Forest won as well. Let's get into it. Jamie, we'll kick off with the Man City game. I know it's not in a chronological order, but you were there at the game. You witnessed it live. You must have been confident going into the game, although Bournemouth have been tricky. What went wrong?
Right, so what went wrong was, this is the first time I went Bournemouth away. What went wrong? It rained. Went to one pub. They said no home fans only, so didn't let us in. Another 15-minute walk to the next pub. That was the bad start of the day. You thought we couldn't get any worse. Then the football started. Look, I have to start off with, but Bournemouth deserved to win. There was no shadow of a doubt. Bournemouth deserved to win. They were better than us quite comfortably that on the day. Like 2-1, I wouldn't say like flattered us, but it was sort of like, it wasn't a very close game for most of it. So I'll get that part out of the way. For City, yes, you have to go in confident, considering Bournemouth had never beaten us in any competition in history. So it should have been a standard win. But it's a weird one, because that first half, I did not know what the plan was defensively, and I didn't know what the plan was attacking. And that is dreadful. That's something that you'd expect from a relegation sort of side, really. It was sort of like, I did not know what our plan was when we were attacking, and defensively we looked open, so open kind of thing. So Bournemouth have to take credit for that, because that was their tactics. You saw it from minute one, where they got the ball. It was our kickoff. They had the first shot in the sort of second minute, where Edison had to make a double save. So in terms of that, it was a very disappointing first half. The second half, a bit better. But really, if we didn't score that Guardiola sort of header, which was a very good header, we didn't deserve to score. It was a very poor. What did you put that down
to, though? What did you put that down to? Because obviously we had a joke about Pep. You know, there's a few injuries, we know that, but you had Pep going, obviously a usual kind of FPL wind up, but Rico Lewis is the only player that can't be dropped, and then he dropped him. So do you blame that performance and lack of tactics or direction on Pep, or is it the players just didn't fancy
it? I don't know, to be perfectly honest, because by the way, him putting in Walker was a terrible decision, because Walker was dreadful. And this is sort of like, thank you, Walker, for everything you've done, but you're on your way out now. Like, the age is catching up to you, and it's showing, kind of thing. I think it's more the midfield. Losing Rodri and losing De Bruyne in that midfield. Okay, you've got to cope. You've got to have your whole squad to cope with this. But them two missing is so massive for us, because that gives us the defensive structure, and it also gives us the attacking sort of play. And we're losing both of them. And to be perfectly honest, Gundogan, even though he's an absolute legend, being the captain, winning the treble, since he's come back, he's been awful. Like, it's difficult. It's sort of, you're losing Rodri, losing De Bruyne, and then one of the guys you brought back to replace him is dropping stinkers nearly every week. It's not just him, but he's sort of, his form from what he was to what he is today has massively dropped. So it's quite a few things. But I think one thing is, the injuries are stacking up, because the players that he had on the bench, he had Doku, he had De Bruyne, I believe he had Savio. It's sort of like all these players could have come on, but he didn't play them, and he brought Doku on for the last 5 minutes. When we're 2-0 down, 2-1 down, and you don't bring on De Bruyne, he's clearly not fit. It's sort of, he was on the bench just for a name, for a number, just to get a little few minutes in training before the game is kind of it. So I think there still is the injury problem there. But I don't want to say that's the reason why we lost, because the performance was poor enough. The players we have on the pitch should be good enough to beat Bournemouth, but Bournemouth were better than us on the day. So, look, we haven't lost. It's the first loss in nearly a year. It was 32 games unbeaten.
Yeah, big
It's
record.
not doom and gloom. We're still second in the league. It's one loss. It's more how we perform against Sporting and then against Brighton on the weekend. That's when it counts. How do we bounce back?
Yeah. Well, speaking of doom and gloom, that brings us on nicely to Reece, who was calling for Mikel Arteta's P45 immediately after the result. Reece, you've obviously been vocal about you weren't going to win the title anyway. So for you, this probably isn't a surprise. Talk us through your thoughts on Arteta, and basically what the result means for you.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's put it quite bluntly. I could show a recording of me over the last 2-3 years, and it would be pretty much saying the same thing. I don't want to be proven right, and I have been for the last 3-4 years in a row. This is ridiculous. Like, I just don't understand it. It's another pathetic performance away from home in a game where we need to get at least a point. For the last 3 years, if you include the battle for fourth as well, it's been the same thing. It's been not getting the results at these teams. And when you look back and go, oh, what's cost us? It's these games. It's the Fulhams, it's the Villas, it's the Newcastles again. We can include Bournemouth from a couple of weeks ago, regardless of their City result, into this equation. That's what's costing us, and it's cost us again. And it's not just where we're battling. We're playing so poorly. Isaac scored a great goal, but we showed nothing. And this isn't the first time this has happened. I've called this out before on this podcast. I've called it out before in conversations in general. It's the same thing again and again and again. And this is why I said Arteta can't take this club any further. He can't. It's not good enough. It's not acceptable. It's pathetic. It's honestly pathetic. And everyone, I've noticed now that fans are starting to see it. This guy is not going to win trophies for Arsenal. When I was having a conversation with you, I said, I do not care about this Newcastle game because I know what's going to happen. And it's just confirmed it for me. I do not care what happens against Inter Milan. I do not care what happens against Chelsea at the weekend because he's not going to win anything. It's a waste of my time. I'm literally wasting my breath, exhausted, being proven right.
And you're saying fans are starting to see this now. Is Edu starting to see this? Because he has walked today. That is the breaking news earlier today. Edu has resigned, and he's not just resigned. He's resigned to go to Nottingham Forest. Now, if there is Forest fans watching, we've got to give them a shout out because we know their history, and they are currently in third position. So you can argue they're in the title race if you want to make that argument. I think a lot of people will shoot that down, but third position, 1 point above Arsenal. Is Edu seen enough? Does he want an upgrade like a proper team who've won European trophies?
Probably. I mean, I would like to. I think the Edu one comes as a surprise. I think obviously he's had a huge role in the signings we've made. Arteta would have had a say on those too. So I'm not going to give Edu 100% credit. He's also not won trophies either. So I know it's down to the manager, but it's a surprise. But at the end of the day, why is he going to Forest? Maybe he thinks he's done all he can achieve and he wants to try a new project. You know, he's not gone to Real Madrid. He's not gone to Barcelona. He's gone to Forest. That's no disrespect. So maybe this is something he's taken a different avenue on, and is what it is. It's up to Arsenal to find a new person to take the role now.
Yeah, and just in terms of Arsenal, before we kind of move on to the other, Liverpool, this could be a situation, and Arsenal fans will say maybe it's a bit of an overreaction and we're getting carried away, but I do think you could be on the edge of a potential crisis, and that will sound dramatic given you where you are in the league. It's not like you're fighting mid-table or relegation, but you look at your next games. Away to Inter Milan in the week, away to Chelsea on Sunday, who we're now technically above you on the same points, which is a concern because how we've been playing, you wouldn't be absolutely blown away if Chelsea were to get a result there. And then you've got, again, you're back home, but you've got are in the literally peak of their lives. So, and then even after that, you've got Sporting away. So are we looking at now, again, results will determine it, but are we looking at a potential serious tough period for Arsenal where I mean, you could be sliding down the table potentially. Maybe on the cusp of exit in Europe. That
Arsenal
might
really in a tough period though. You've got to remember they've played what Liverpool, Newcastle. Okay, they also lost to Bournemouth before that. It's you have a tough run of games. I know I'm looking at sort of City's fixtures. I know we play something like Spurs, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, and then we have one other game in like 5 games, and then we've got Champions Leagues in between. Every team has a tough period on it, and I think it is how you progress out of it.
Yeah,
that will determine your season. The Champions League, it's not as concerning, and I think Reece, you've touched on this before, because unless you come in the bottom 8, you still get a chance to play on through. Yeah. So the Champions League games, playing Inter, playing Sporting, even if you lose both of them, Arsenal still got a very, very high chance of playing in the playoff sort of games. So I don't think that's the main concern. But I also want to sort of defend Arteta a little bit here, because Reece, you've slagged him off and you want him out. You've said you wanted him out. Arsenal have gone up in points for the last 5 seasons. So it's year-on-year progression. Now, the first year wasn't under Arteta, but 4 of them are. And teams do normally have a drop-off after, I think, normally the 3rd year. You saw it when Pep had his first ones. We had the 100 points, we had the 98 points, and then we were completely off it, and Liverpool won the title. There's nothing to take away from Liverpool winning the title, but we were completely off it. So Arteta's gone sort of the 4th place finish, like coming in 5th, didn't get Champions League, come 2nd in the next year, and then came 2nd again with 89 points. That wins you the league a lot of times when it shouldn't. The only reason why they didn't is because they came up against City, who arguably have been the best Premier League side sort of ever. So it's kind of, I think, a bit harsh when he has one drop-off season that he can't turn it around.
I don't think it's harsh. I give the credit to the fact that City are the best team this league has ever seen. But he's still won no trophies. I don't care if he's picked up points. He's still won bugger all. You know, he won a FA Cup and a new manager round. He's done sod all since then. And on top of that, he's bottled it in all those years. He bottled that top 4 with a game in hand. I remember the conversation we had on this podcast about it. I said he would chuck it. Season after that, in that title race, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but he still bottled it. If Arsenal picked up those points, they would have won that league. They chucked it at Southampton, away to Forest, those similar teams again. Last season, chucked it at home to Aston Villa, but of course you got the game with the points we dropped against Fulham in both games as well. So he's bottled it all 4 times, so I couldn't give a toss about improving on points. I only care about winning a trophy. So he's bottled it on there. If we
I do understand that, but he's not done nothing, if that makes sense. Because when Arteta picked up the job, this is kind of the Southgate kind of point, I guess, with England. When he picked up the job, there was no hope. And he has brought that hope back. And to be honest, I actually think it was a mistake by Arteta and Edu, just by not giving you a striker this year. I think if you brought a striker in the summer, I think you'd be doing better than what you are. And that was just the missing link. So Edu going, might be actually, a good thing. Because if he can't spot that Arsenal needed a striker in the summer, what good is he in the sort of transfers?
No, that's very true. I mean, at the end of the day, they still didn't sign one, so the responsibility does lie with them. Performances aren't good enough, you're still not won nothing. Simple as that. And I'm seeing the same piss poor performances away from home in these games that are showing to me why I'm right. If I rewind to a couple of weeks ago, before we move on to Liverpool, which, by the way, let's not forget, City did not beat Liverpool or Arsenal last season, still won the league. Goes to show what games matter, right? In this tough run of form, I said I'd be happy with 5 points. And you both look quite shocked. We've got 1 point. And even if which we probably will lose to Chelsea next week, we would have got 1 point in that run of form. What does that say about what I can see with this team?
No,
It's
but
genuinely shocking.
I think the difference was you said you'd be happy with 5 points.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would have taken it. I would have ripped your hand off for it. We've got
now
one.
you take it. Now you take it because you've got less.
Yeah, we've
But
got one.
yeah, but I still think you can't be happy with that if the sort of ambition of the club. Forget what your prediction was. Forget
It's not
that.
ambition. It's delusion. They're not going to win the league. They're so out of touch.
For coming second 2 years in a row, I don't think it's delusion to go, we want to win the league.
It
Doesn't mean
delusion.
they didn't say they're going to guarantee winning it, but you shouldn't be aiming for 5 points.
Build it up. Win a couple of trophies and build up. I'm going to go, okay, you've got a chance. They've won Jack. At least Liverpool had won a Champions League before the league and made a couple of finals. May I say that? They lost those finals, but they got to a couple of finals. He ain't got nowhere near a final. I've got closer to a final than he has on Football Manager. Come on. They're delusional, absolutely delusional. I just can't understand it. This is why I do not care anymore. They're not going to win anything. I just don't care. They're just so delusional, and the fans are finally starting to realise it. Wake up, come on.
Yeah, I do think some fans appreciate it's only 10 games in, losing a little bit of faith. And not necessarily saying sack him, but there will be question marks probably this season, particularly over whether he is the man to take them forward. And I think the argument around, the thing is, it depends what happens, right? You touched on Liverpool. What Slot's doing, if Slot can actually take them all the way and have them competing for the title basically to the end of the season, then maybe there will be question marks, because it's like, right, Slot's literally had less than a year and he's up there. Why can't you do the same? So weirdly, I think Liverpool's potential success will determine some of the criticism on Arteta. But the flip side for him is that, as Jamie said, he has raised the bar each season. He's got you competing for a title, which many people didn't think would happen for quite a while. And he maybe is a victim of his own success. Success I use lightly because there's not been the trophies, but he's jumped you ahead almost in what you probably would have expected so soon that now anything less than compete for the title is like, he's a disgrace kind of thing.
He needs a trophy. End of the day, he needs a trophy, and he's won nothing. An FA Cup and a new manager bounce is what is saving his arse right now. He has won nothing. Klopp had made a League Cup final, Champions League final, a Europa League final. He'd lost those 3, but he'd made the finals. We have not got anywhere close. It's
so
poor.
if he wins the League Cup, is that sort of, he wins the League Cup, comes third, nowhere near the title race,
saves him. Yeah, 100%.
That's fine. You're happy with the progression.
Yeah, it's got something. That you want, it's Spurs fans would have gone to Pochettino. You want silverware in the cabinet. Looking at a silver medal or a bronze medal, which we don't even get, nothing. You get nothing for finishing second. It's as simple as that. You get nothing. You are what you call first loser. So he needs something there to back up why is this manager everyone's talking about, and he has got nothing. And fans are starting to see it, because we're starting to see the same crap over and over again. At least it's happening now than it is in April or May. He's getting his bottle done now.
I guess, does it take the pressure off is the other argument. 7 points out, people write you off already for the title. Do you want to be the chances for a change? I don't know. I've
always said you want to be, I think sometimes it's better to be the chaser than the chased, but the pressure will only be on him because of the disappointing results. That's it. So,
I think that only I think that's only fine if you're able to put a win rate of like 8 to 10 games. You have to win all of them in a row, and that's fine then when you're the chasing. But so there's a lot more pressure, but I think it's slightly blown out of proportion. But I'm not saying you're completely unjustified for saying it's sort of not good enough, because winning is what matters at the end of the day. But I feel like it is sort of a crisis that's not a full-on crisis as it's being made out.
He just needs a trophy. That's all I care about. Don't care if he nicks it from someone else. I don't care. Just get something.
Yeah, and look, we'll see in those next 4 games as well if it is a crisis or it's just, you may well bounce back. You're more than capable of doing that. Let's move on to Liverpool. currently top of the table. Absolute dream weekend for them to go back 2 points clear. But that's not necessarily the whole tale of the tape as such, because you look at the stats of the game at Brighton. Brighton had more possession, more passes, which is quite rare. You get that at Anfield. And stats-wise, shots-wise, there wasn't that much difference. So were Liverpool lucky, or are we starting to see a real side here?
There's a lot of credit that deserves to go to Liverpool, I think, because Brighton did do a good job on them, and they fell short. And I think a lot of that could be due to Liverpool's resolve to just, once they got that goal, it was just going to be a battering ram probably going forward. So I think it's a lot of testament to Liverpool's ability, I think. I mean, fair play to Brighton, but I think Liverpool deserve a lot of credit, for being able to come back and coming back so rapidly as well. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much, whether you had less of the ball, whatever. What matters is scoring more goals than your opposition, and that's what they did.
I think Liverpool have shown it. I think Klopp's the one who sort of implemented it. Liverpool are the best side to sort of go bang, bang, bang. You're now from winning positions to losing positions. And I think that's still implemented in that squad with the likes of obviously their attacking players, Salah being one of them, obviously. Liverpool and at Anfield, it's one of the most places where you can just sort of have a funny 2 minutes, or here 3 minutes, and you've gone from 1-0 up to 2-1 down. So it's a test. It has been since sort of like Klopp's come in, really. So this is the only thing that I have against Slot, because at the moment you can't fault him really, because he's top of the table. He's come in, he's made one signing, and he's injured. So actually, it's not. So my sort of only thing with him is it's not his squad. It is a Klopp squad, and he's still implementing it very, very well. But at the moment, so this is the difference I thought that Arteta had to what Slot had when you were comparing them earlier, Jordan. Arteta had to rebuild his squad. Slot's come into a very good squad. It's more in a couple of years I'll see what Slot's actually got when he's had to bring in his own players and things like that. But at the moment, that weekend, if you asked a Liverpool fan, give me a perfect weekend, that was it. Even Everton losing to Southampton added to that factor. So it's things like that. It's just sort of like everything just went to plan. Okay, being 1-0 down wasn't ideal, but like I said, at Anfield, Liverpool are the best at just sort of like double whammy, and you're back in the lead. I think they have got. Well, they've shown that the squad does have capabilities of winning trophies. That was under Klopp, so it's not out of the question that they definitely can be in this title race and go a long, long way in it. I know it's only 10 games in, but it's more. They've gone away to Arsenal. It's what's been their other games. That's the only question mark at the moment over them. But you can only beat what's in front of you so far, and you've got to play everyone. So
yeah, I mean they've gone to Arsenal away, United away.
Yeah, Chelsea, United have the 10 arc.
There has been a few games. Yeah, I guess it didn't really count, but they're certainly passing a few tests early on. Best goal difference, fewest goals conceded in the league. So you've got to credit Slot, but at the minute they're looking good, and they're looking. Well, certainly Reece will agree, but 7 points clear of Arsenal already. So you have to argue that they're looking more likely a team to win the league than Arsenal.
Yeah, I think their one stickler will be that home defeat to Forest. No disrespect to Forest, and we know how well they're doing. I think they've got another few of them in the bank to do that. I wouldn't be shocked, they play at home to say, even if I don't know, a Villa or whatever, and lose 1-0. That's the concern for them, because as we know, City will win those games. They don't have to go and beat Liverpool at Anfield. They know that they can win those other games. That's what Liverpool will need to be careful of. And maybe, and obviously if it gets that situation, if they're not going to win the game, draw it. So that's how I see it for them at the moment.
Well, speaking of that, with their games coming up, They do have. They've got 3 big home games. They've got Villa this Saturday. Then they've got 1st of December City at Anfield. But they've also got Real Madrid on the 27th. So the week just before that. In the week just before that. Then they've got aways to Newcastle and Everton. So they've got their tough sort of, like I said, every team will have their tough sort of run of games. And this seems to be coming up to what Liverpool's is. So really, by the sort of, mid-December, we could actually see whether they are, fully the real deal, or if they're just going to be sort of like, are they going to be like an Arsenal, challenging but not quite enough? And that's, to be fair, it doesn't mean City are going to steamroll and go ahead, but it's more, are they going to actually, go, right, we're the ones you've got to chase down. Be 2 points at the moment. 7, is it 7 ahead of Arsenal? Sort of, are they going to keep that maintained, or is these run of fixtures then going to be there sort of like, here's where we drop a few points here and there. So I think time will tell with Liverpool. It's just another month is where I think we'll fully see how good this team is, under Slot.
Their strength in depth, I think, might be a big issue when it comes to having to rest a few players. I think that might become a factor. Obviously, long term as well, there's the contract situations with 3 of their best players and replacing them. But obviously, that's not for now. So, yeah, I think it's looking good for them. I'm a fan of Slot as it is anyway. And I think, their real resolve will be when Jamie says in those games, that tough run of fixtures is going to be what could make or break them.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. We have had our say, but now we want to hear from you. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.